Welcome, everyone. Let's talk about it. This is something that most entrepreneurs, especially the females, the women, these magical women, are struggling with imposter syndrome. And yes, it happens to pretty much everyone, but it does show up a lot stronger and it's a lot more evident in entrepreneurs. So, where does it come from? And how in the world do you get it out of the mix? That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode of Soul and Strategy for Entrepreneurs. Hey, I'm Dawn Marie, your host for today. I'm going to help you blend your inner wisdom and practical strategies so that you can achieve the success that you want in your business. And like I was saying, in this episode of Soul and Strategy, we are going to be exploring where and why imposter syndrome comes from, and just as importantly, actionable steps that you could take right now to make this a thing of the past. And I just want to keep it real with you today. Can we just keep it real today? This seems to really be affecting more women across the board, but in general, as entrepreneurs. Now, that may just be my perception, but I really think that women struggle with this more. And to me, this is not a surprise because it's almost as if we were set up and designed to really struggle with this a little bit more. So let's talk first about where does imposter syndrome come from? So the first place, society and its expectation and gender stereotypes play a huge role in this. We are often subjected as women to unrealistic standards of perfection and face pressure to prove ourselves in a very male dominated industry. This constant need to measure up can really fuel those feelings of inadequacy and self doubt. We have got to stop pressuring ourselves. A lot of this is coming from our own selves. We've been conditioned to really expect a lot from ourselves. So, gender stereotypes, society expectations, and expectations that society has really conditioned us to have for our own selves is one of the places it comes from. The second place I want to talk about that it comes from is comparitis. What is comparitis? Comparitis is when we are almost like obsessed with comparing ourselves to others, comparing our business to others, comparing our strategies to others, comparing our magic to others, our style, our brand, our results, our success, all of the things. It's all this comparison. And somehow we think that by comparing our own selves to people that maybe are further down along the journey or not quite, still earlier stages of the journey, we're going to find out where we are and it's going to teach us our value. And this is so untrue. We compare ourselves to people that are we think may be way ahead of us, and the truth is we don't know if they are or not. Now they may have more success than us in our businesses at this moment, but that doesn't mean they didn't start way back behind where we did, or that they're not struggling with their own challenges at the time. What we're seeing is the outside perception. And again, with people that we feel maybe aren't up to speed with where we're at, it doesn't matter where you're fitting into this mix. Your value is still your value. But we have this thing, especially women, where we're comparing ourselves to others. And it's even more prominent when you add social media into the mix, because social media, as great as it is, can really distort reality and give you a false perception of what somebody else's business results, strategies, whatever it is that you're comparing. It can really be misleading. So the comparison trap can really undermine our confidence and breed and just multiply feelings of unworthiness. It's not good, girls. It's not good, ladies. So thirdly is this fear, a fear of failure, and it looms large for many women, especially entrepreneurs. The pressure to succeed in a competitive business landscape can be very overwhelming. And it can lead to a fear of being exposed as a fraud if things don't go according to plan. This can paralyze you and paralyze your actions and perpetrate imposter syndrome. This is a huge place that it comes from. Now, the last place I want to talk about where imposter syndrome seems to be bred and born and come from is personal and internal factors. So these are going to look different for everybody, but you may be struggling or dealing with perfectionism and low self esteem. This can really contribute to imposter syndrome. We may be setting unattainable standards for ourselves and really be struggling to recognize our own accomplishments. Remember, when we're comparing ourselves to others, we know all of our dirt. We know all the good, the bad, the ugly. We don't know theirs. So we're comparing our worst of worst with their shiny moments that they're exposing to the public. This is such an unfair comparison. It really is. But this feeling of being a fraud, despite all the evidence, is a lack of confidence. All right. So now that we've really talked about some of the main reasons, and I'm sure there's many more, that imposter syndrome shows up for us as female entrepreneurs, I do want to dig into 5 steps that you can start taking today that will help you overcome overcome this dilemma. It will help you regain your confidence and reclaim your power. Number 1, the first step that you can take today is start recognizing and acknowledging your feelings. Our feelings are not there to hurt us. They're not there to keep us stuck. They're not there to keep us in failure or spinning around. So often we have feelings that come up that we ignore, and this is a huge mistake. So the first step in overcoming this imposter syndrome is to acknowledge the feelings that you're experiencing and recognize the negative thoughts and beliefs. They are holding you back because you're not spending the time to acknowledge them, to dig into them, understand them, and know that you're not the only one feeling these feelings. We all have all the emotions. Some of us have more than, some of us have some of the emotions more than others, but we all have the same emotions. We're all learning and growing and on our journey. None of us are perfect. But if you don't start acknowledging your feelings and really putting 2 and 2 together, that they're not showing up to stop you, they're showing up to identify a problem. And that is actually a good thing. This is going to keep holding you back and keep you in imposter syndrome feelings. So the second actionable step is to reframe your inner dialogue. And I talk about this a lot, that the challenge of that negative self-talk. Oh my goodness. I did not even realize how bad this really was, this conversation that was going on 24/7 in between my ears, between me, myself, and I, until I started speaking it out loud. And it's like, holy cow, who else would you talk to that way? Why would you talk to anybody that harshly? But that's what was happening between my ears. So, this negative self-talk really does. It's like adding that gasoline, that fuel to the imposter syndrome feelings. So what I want you to start focusing on is just recognizing that. And if it takes you having that conversation out loud, then do that. That helped me tremendously. But once you start recognizing and really digging into this talk that we have, the way we have of speaking to ourselves, and exposing it, at least to your own self. It doesn't have to be exposed to the world, but at least to your own self. Then you could start replacing it with positive affirmations, empowering beliefs, and really start reminding yourself of your strengths and your accomplishments. That's why I find it so important to keep this badass list, is what I call it. Really, it's a list of your accomplishments, things that you've overcome, things that you're amazing at, things that, came up against you and it's like, yeah, I crushed that. I didn't know how I was going to do that, but I overcame that and now it's not a problem anymore. That way, when you start to feel, because you will, we all do, when you start to feel disempowered and not on point and not valuable and not really worthy, that's when you can go back to your badass list and start reminding yourself of your strengths, recalling those accomplishments, and bring your value right to the front of the table, okay, as an entrepreneur. So that's the second thing you could do. Let's dig into number 3. This is embrace your vulnerability. This is so hard. It sucks feeling vulnerable. It sucks feeling imperfect, right? Some of us more than others struggle with this. This was a big one for me. But I want you to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes really aren't mistakes. They're just learning experiences. And experiencing setbacks along the way is going to be part of the game. It just is. You're going to have to hold energy, hold space for that energy of some disappointments along the way, some setbacks along the way, and embrace being vulnerable. And that is hard to do, but it is actually a strength. It's a strength to see your failures as an opportunity for growth and learning rather than just confirmation of how much you suck, of how much you're inadequate, of how you're never going to make it. Those are the easy things to do. It's a challenge to reverse that because we've been taught differently, but that is going to be key to conquering this imposter syndrome. So, number 4, and this is really crucial. This is really crucial, ladies. You're not in this alone. You may be a solopreneur, but you are not a alonepreneur. So you need to seek support and connection. And this may feel a little weird in the beginning, but you have to find the support and network of mentors and peers and even allies that can offer encouragement and guidance and perspective. It's time that we start pulling these things, these little hidden secrets that are down deep in the darkness of our being, and exposing them, because it's going to be surprising to you how many others are struggling with the same things that you think is a you thing. It's not a you thing. Many women are struggling with it. We just don't talk about it, but we need to start talking about it. We need to start normalizing it. We need to start exposing it for what it is. So share your struggles and your successes openly. And remember that you are not alone in navigating through this imposter syndrome. We all have it. It's just not talked about very much. That's what we need to change. And then the 5th actionable step I want to talk to you about is taking action despite fear. This is why I tell you it's important to identify the fear and what it may be telling you so that you have something to, I don't want to say battle with it, but actually negate its power. Yes, it's you're gonna feel the fear. You're going to. The difference is when you acknowledge it and you dig into it, now you have the right to tell the fear, you know what, fear? I want to thank you for showing up. You know, you're pretty awesome to do that. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have acknowledged this, this, and this. I wouldn't have been able to identify that. But here's the thing, I see why you're showing up. I see why you're afraid. But don't worry, I got this. I'm going to reassure you right now, I got this. So I'm going to ask you, fear, to take a seat in the back, buckle up, get in that car seat and buckle up. Mama's got this. I got this. Don't worry. And then take action despite your fear. It's not about going to the edge of the cliff and saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." And chances are you're going to die if you jump, and then overcome the fear and jump. No, it's about understanding where this fear is coming from, understanding what it's trying to show you, and then overcoming it, taking bold, courageous steps, forwards towards your goal. Even if it does mean stepping out of your comfort zone, that is okay. You got to trust in your abilities and remember that self-confidence is only built through action, but it's aligned action. It's not just on a whim action, it's aligned action. So there you have it. 5 steps to eliminating imposter syndrome and unleashing your full potential as a woman entrepreneur. You are worthy, you are capable, and you deserve success. I want you to go forth with confidence and conquer this world, whatever it is you're here to do. So I want to thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep believing in yourself and your dreams. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, found it to be helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more and point other people to it that need to hear this message.